We go live, please?
Madam Chair, Councilor Chavez, we are live.
Thank you so much. I call to order the Public Works and Utilities Committee meeting. It is Monday, February 16th, 5 o'clock. Could I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Chair, Councilor Chavez,
Here.
Councilor Barrett,
Here.
Councilor Bustamante,
Here.
Councilor Fagali,
Here.
and Councilor Faulkner.
Is excused. All right, next is approval. We have a quorum. Next is approval of the agenda. Are there changes from staff?
No changes from staff.
Great. Do I have a motion from the committee?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? See none, motion passes. Approval of the consent agenda, I believe we had one item pulled. Let me open it.
Item 7E, I believe.
Yes.
7E. Okay, so item 7E was pulled by Counselor Fagali. With that, do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
As amended?
As amended.
Motion to approve as amended? Second. And I have a second. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, motion to approve was,
Bustamante.
Bustamante.
and the second was
Barrett.
Barrett. Okay. Thank you. Chair Chavez,
Yes.
Chair, Councilor Barrett,
Yes.
Councilor Bustamante,
Yes.
and Councilor Fagali.
Yes.
That passes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next is public comment. Do we have anyone in chambers that would like to come up and speak to us today? No public comment today. Okay. Presentations. Our favorite type of presentation is what we're opening up with, which is the Public Utilities Department Employee of the Month for January 2026. Eric Romero, Collections Equipment Operator, Environmental Services Division. Leo Griego and Deborah Trujillo will be presenting this recognition this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Before I introduce Leroy Griego, who will then recognize Eric Romero, I just want to recognize Eric myself. You know, he has been an employee with Environmental Services, which used to be Solid Waste, for over 22 years. All of his time at Solid Waste Environmental Services. He is one of 4 of our night crew staff, which is, a lot of people don't know, he comes in at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and services the downtown area Monday through Friday, some alternating Saturdays. He also has the best attitude. He comes in from the back door in the morning when we're getting in, he's already going home. And he has the biggest smile on his face the entire time. Staff look up to him. He's a great mentor. He's always willing to take people under his wing and train them. Not many people want to work that shift, but Eric has stuck it out all this time. So I just want to tell him, you know, we appreciate him. All of staff do. Supervisors adore him. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Leroy.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Leroy.
Today, I'm pleased to recognize someone who consistently goes above and beyond in their role. Eric has demonstrated exceptional dedication, reliability, and a positive attitude that truly reflects the values of our team. Over the past 22 years, he has shown outstanding commitment to excellence, stepped up when challenges arose, and supported his colleagues without hesitation. His hard work has not only contributed to our team's success, but has also set a strong example for others. It's for these reasons that we are proud to present him with the Employee of the Month award. Thank you, Eric, for your hard work and continued dedication. We truly appreciate it.
And Eric, if you wouldn't mind coming up so we could shake your hand and let you know how much we appreciate your service to the city.
And we also have a little small token for you in a recycle bag.
Awesome. Nice. Eric, thank you. Do you want to say anything? Mm. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Eric. Also want to mention that Eric will get 8 hours of administrative leave to use as he sees fit as a reward for his hard work and the recognition that Utilities Department and the Environmental Services Division has conferred upon him.
Awesome. Go on a 3-day weekend. Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, and then we have, so just so everyone's aware, we have been brainstorming presentations. I did give all feedback to our directors, but we thought because our committee's mostly made up, or Jesse thought, I don't take credit for this at all. Jesse felt that since we're made up of mostly new counselors, that this presentation is pretty essential early on. So we're going to be moving into City of Santa Fe water overview and update. We have Director Roach that will be walking us through this today. When I started learning about water, it like made my eyes go cross-eyed. So answer questions. Jesse is like amazing to speak to about this because he's passionate about it and very well versed. So just keep reaching out to him as you continue to learn about the system.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate your time, and I thank you to all the members of the committee who have expressed interest in utilities and water through time. As we all recognize, living here, it's been a dry winter, and I think people start to ask questions. So this presentation partly was created for last week for the Water Conservation Committee, and I wanted to repeat parts of it for you all so that you have a sense of what we're thinking about. So I'm going to go into a little background of the system. I'll probably go through this fairly quickly, but I know that when somebody sees on the agenda a water update, there's a certain number of slides that I just want to include in case somebody goes in and looks at them. And then I'll sort of hone in on the specific conditions that we're dealing with right now. The city has is blessed to have 4 different supplies of water. This map shows the Santa Fe watershed in blue. The city limits is sort of in green there. And we have Santa Fe River water treated at the Canyon Road Water Treatment Plant. We have the city well field within city limits. We have the Buckman well field on the way out to the north of town on the way to the Rio Grande, and we have the Buckman direct diversion. We also have reclaimed water, which is shown here in purple, that is used to irrigate turfs and golf courses and parks. A few photos just for eye candy of the 4 sources. This is from Nichols Reservoir in the closed watershed looking downstream towards Santa Fe, and we see Canyon Road Water Treatment Plant there pointed out by the arrow, and then a bird's eye view of that treatment plant. We have wells throughout the city, about 7 of them, first drilled in the 1950s, mostly along the river. That's our city well field. We have 13 deep wells on the road from out to the Rio Grande. This photo is looking back up to Santa Fe from the other side of the Rio Grande, and the red dots indicate the locations of the first 9 of those wells, which are near the river. The additional 4 were drilled later, and they're further away. The Buckman direct diversion is our 4th supply of water. This is some photos of it under construction at the river on the left, and then up at the treatment plant, which is up near the Marty Sanchez golf course. And one other interesting fact about our water supply is that all the water that the city uses of the Buckman direct diversion, and the Buckman direct diversion is co-owned with the county, all the water that we use there is actually Colorado River water that is delivered to us via a project called the San Juan Chama Project. It's 3 diversions. Oops. It's 3 diversions on tributaries to the San Juan that flow by gravity under the Continental Divide and are stored in Heron Reservoir on the Chama system, hence the name San Juan Chama. And this sort of figure is one that I show in all presentations. You're probably getting sick of it, but it really tells, this picture is worth 1,000 words. essentially exponential demand growth in the city from 1925 through 1995 that we kept up with by adding more types of supplies. We started with the Santa Fe River, shown in light blue. We added the city well field in the 50s, shown in yellow. And then we added the Buckman well field in the 70s, shown in orange. And we peaked out at producing around 13,000 acre feet in 1995. And at that point, the utility was purchased. So what had been a private for-profit utility was purchased in 1995 by the city. And then we see two really significant shifts to water management paradigm. One of them was a reduction in the total amount of water produced, despite the fact that the city continued to grow. And the other one is a shift away from groundwater use towards surface water use. And these two things I'll explain a little bit more in a couple more of these slides. This is just a zoom in from 1995 through 2025, and you see that the total use dropped from 13,000 feet in 1 year to more like 9,000 acre feet in a year currently. And the amount of water that was being pumped out of wells went from being the majority of it to the minority of it, especially once we added that fourth supply and the Buckman direct diversion. One way to look at the efficiency with which we've used water since then, which is our water conservation success, is that the population served, which is shown in the blue bars, went from about 70,000, less than 70,000 people in 1995 to about 90,000 people now. And during that time, as we saw in the previous graphs, we were producing less total water. Oops, these must have, and if we divide the population served by the water produced, we can come up with a metric that we call gallons per capita per day, which is not the total amount of water that someone's using in their home or using personally, but it's the total amount of water that we attribute to every one of our paying customers. And that dropped from 168 in 1995 down to below 90 in some of the past several years. This is something to be proud of and something that we are proud of, and something that when people ask about conservation, you can mention that we really do have a success story over the last 30 years in conservation here. Okay, so that's the background. I think you've all seen pieces of that. And so I did hustle through that, although I'm perfectly happy to skip back to that if you have any additional questions or comments you would like to make about that. But let's look a little bit at this year specifically. I think anyone who lives here understands that it's been a low water year. So what does that mean to us? First of all, let's look at something that's called the Drought Monitor. This is something that's done nationwide, I believe, and it's done by county, by state, and by county. And we specifically look at the index for Santa Fe. And this is, I think, of as a semi-qualitative or semi-quantitative index put together by experts. So it does have certain measurable parameters that go into it, but then is also a panel of experts who decide what these scores are. And we see that we're in abnormally dry or moderate in Santa Fe County right now, either abnormally dry or moderate drought. So not too extreme, but we see as you shift to the southwest in the state, it gets drier. It also, most predictions in these sort of large climate models suggest that New Mexico will remain below average precipitation through in February, March, and April. So it's not looking great for this spring, or the outlook is there's nothing to suggest that anything's going to change here over the next few months. And one of the things we do look at is how much snow is in the mountains. At this time of year in mid-February, there's still quite a bit of uncertainty around how much snow we're going to get, or how much melt we're going to get out of the snow we do have. The runoff forecast will improve through the spring, and in April, we'll kind of lock some stuff in. So you can expect to hear from us again, either at this committee or at the governing body sometime in April. Well, April, we start to lock things in, and by May, typically, we will provide some sort of an update on where we stand. But at the moment, even with the low snowpack and projected runoff, we will have enough water to meet our demand this year. And so that's really the takeaway message from this presentation today. And let me show you why. This is a pretty cool graphic. Let me explain what it is. Up in the watershed, and actually this one is near Tasuki Peak, so up closer to the ski basin, but within our watershed, there's a location where essentially there's a large scale, and I think it's maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, and it's weighing how much snow is on it. And so by knowing the weight of the snow, it knows exactly how much water as depth is sitting up there. So this graph shows through time, and these go back to 1997, how much water has been sitting up there at any given date. And the shading is showing the driest 10% of the years in red, the middle 40% in green, and the wettest 10% in blue. And then the black is tracking what's happening this year. And so we can see that we started out okay, kind of in the middle, and then we faded through December and January. And by the beginning of February, we're not quite in the driest 10%, but we're somewhere in the driest 20% of years. So that's a little bit of a scare, well, not a great outlook. And then you might wonder, so this was when we were putting the packet together last week. This was as of February 10th. I threw another graph into this presentation. This won't show up in your packet, but just to show what happened with this last storm that we had last weekend, it bumped up. It bumped up by almost an inch of effective equivalent water with that storm. And so we see that up there we have about 6 inches of water in the form of snow sitting on that scale. That's only at one point in the watershed. And then the other year that I'm showing here for comparison is 2002, because if you were to go back and look at that graph I showed of water use through time, 2002 is the worst year we've ever seen in terms of water production on the Santa Fe River. So there's two things here. One is how much snow's in the mountains, and then how much of that snow ends up melting and actually arriving in the reservoir. 2002 was the worst year, as I mentioned, we've seen, and so we kind of show that as a yardstick. So we're trending above 2002, and there's, as I mentioned, a lot of uncertainty, but in the next couple months, it'll really shape up to be, hopefully we'll get some more snow and we'll put 2002 in the rearview mirror, but that's the context. And then the snowpack in the headwaters of the San Juan Chama project, so the other sort of snow that matters to us, is about 44% of the median, so also very low. The watershed, and this was prior to this most recent storm, was at 52% of the median. So the outlook for snow is not great at the moment, but we're hoping for snow in the next couple months, and then we're hoping for a good amount of that to actually show up as water in our rivers. In terms of our storage, so one of the bright spots that I have to report on is in Abiquiu, El Dorado, and Heron, where we store our San Juan Chama water, we have about 10,000 acre feet of water stored, and that is usually we use about 5,000 acre feet of that water. So we have about 2 years of storage in that reservoir. We have 1,900 acre feet stored in the Santa Fe watershed, and on a good year, we'll use up to 5,000. So we expect probably to use all that water because we're currently expecting about 2,200 acre feet of inflow based on the snowpack. So we expect to use it all. That would be about almost 4,000 acre feet of available surface water on the Santa Fe River, and then 10 to 12,000 available on in storage for San Juan Chama. So we still can do what we want to do, which is mostly use surface water this year, despite the low snowpack levels. So yeah, and then I'm showing a few more sort of specific. We're expecting to use about 3,500 acre feet of each, and then the rest from wells. In terms of groundwater, since we shifted to surface water dominated production in 2011, water levels in our wells have been recovering. So the city well field, which dropped from sort of pre-development conditions about 150 feet by 2010, has recovered about 60 feet of that since we shifted to surface water dominated production. And the Buckman wells, which are a pressurized confined aquifer, and so they dropped more, they've also recovered more. So they dropped 600 feet of pressure since they were drilled by 2010, and then have recovered more than 80% of that in the last 10 years. And again, our wells we try to keep as a drought-proof backup. It's our savings account. We don't want to dip into it, but it's there. And even if the rivers go dry or the treatment plants can't treat, those wells are ready for us to use, and that's how we want to use them. The way we do annual planning, and this is sort of in the weeds here, but generally this time of year, January to March, we're doing our preliminary planning, and we have weekly meetings where we get together with sort of representatives of the entire water division and the county and Las Campanas, all those the sort of water users with which we share water or operations, and we develop a preliminary plan, and then we continue to revise it as the snowpack evolves through April. And then in April, we do our sort of draft final plan. There are other models that are run by the Bureau of Reclamation that suggest what we think conditions will be on the Rio Grande, and so we use that. Those impact us different ways. And then in April and May, we'll disseminate that to the governing body and to the public. We do an annual What's Up with Water webinar where folks can come and hear a lot of what I've been talking about here, but in a little bit more detail, and then we'll take any questions that people have in that. And then sort of continuous planning through the year. Some of the work that we're doing to try and improve these forecasts is we're working more on snowpack and snow melt in the Santa Fe River. And so we have some different research going on with that we're trying to leverage. So this is researchers at UNM. We are trying to provide some information for them on additional sites. So one of the limitations, so the SNOTEL data that I showed you is so cool, but it only represents a spot that's 10 feet by 10 feet. And we need to know what the snow's like in a 17,000 acre watershed. So there is one other SNOTEL site down low almost on the river. And those two are great. One's low, one's high. But we are developing several other sites that we consider representative of different slopes and different aspects so that we can have a wider ability to take that information and really turn it into a watershed scale estimate of how much water is sitting up there as snow. And then we need to try and understand better how much of that water will actually end up getting to the river and flowing into the reservoirs, not just sublimating. So we're working on that to improve our ability to forecast in the spring. And this is what our sort of preliminary operations plan looks like that is based on our weekly meetings. And you can see that we're expecting to lean on BDD all the way through June. And then in July, August, and September, sometimes we have trouble at BDD because of the monsoons and the Rio Grande gets muddy. And so we have to sort of cut back on those operations. And so that's built into the plan. Essentially, that's when we'll start leaning on the wells a little bit more with sort of a constant production at Canyon Road all the way through, because we are in the process of doing construction at Canyon Road. And so we are at half capacity at Canyon Road this year. So we're going to basically run it the whole time at sort of half capacity. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Director Roach. Are there any questions from the committee? Councilor Bustamante?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not so much a question. I was just wondering if you could give, because I think it's a cool tool that you guys use. Could you give a brief explanation of the WRI?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair, Councilor Bustamante. I appreciate the question. So the WRI is a water resources indicator. And the idea of that tool is to try to provide a very systematic way to guide seasonal conservation strategies. So we would like to tell people, because in a year like this, people say it hasn't snowed, we're in really bad shape, what are we going to do? We would like to then say, well, you're right, but according to the drought monitor, we're in level 1 drought. And according to our groundwater resources, we haven't. So it's essentially an index. It's 30% of the drought monitor that I showed. It's 40% of our groundwater health, I'm going to call it. And that's basically based on how much we've used the groundwater over the past 5 to 10 years. And it's 30% of what's available in the reservoirs. And so we put those three things together, and we come up with a score from 0 to 10. And right now we're at about 6.5. And that helps us say to people, okay, this spring we're at 6.5, and so we do have this set of conservation expectations. And so 6.5 is generally 8 to 10. It would be everything is great. We don't have to worry at all. 6 to 8 is we're in pretty good shape, but we do want people to be aware that it's always important to continue to treat water as a valuable resource. And then when we start getting below 6, then we start to look at other more aggressive conservation strategies. So
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Counselor Bustamante. Counselor Barrett?
Just a follow-up question to that. So since we're at a 6.5, what should we be doing right now to conserve a little bit more because we're experiencing?
Madam Chair, Counselor Barrett, thanks for the question. And I should know the different actions that we have off the top of my head. I don't. From 6 to 8, I think that it's our sort of standard messaging of when we hit irrigation season, it'll be you can only water during these hours. You can't water during the hot hours. But the level, I think when we get below 6 is when we start to think, okay, we need to actually budget additional funds for additional messaging. This is, we never want to say, we always want to say conservation is always in season. We always support that. Conservation is first. But we, at this level, wouldn't put extra resources behind that messaging.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, one more thing, because I went to that really cool presentation you did, and I'm just so impressed with the population going up as much as it has. The consumption is way down, and we were talking about that. That's amazing, and I feel like, maybe in some ways that you guys probably are a model for the country and with population growth and like using less water and what you've implemented to make that happen. I think it's really impressive, cool, and shout out to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Vigali?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Roach, Director. I have a question about, so a lot of our water comes from the Colorado River, correct?
Yeah, about half generally.
Are we concerned about this like redrawing of the compact and how that might affect us, or do we feel good about it?
Madam Chair, Councilor Vigali, thank you for the question. I'm going to take this opportunity to shout out Bill Schneider, who's in the audience, and he is our expert on the Colorado River. And since he's wandering up, I'm going to let him comment on the
Great.
Colorado River.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate the questions, Madam Chair. Certainly, the city is working very closely with the state of New Mexico on potential scenarios that could come out of the negotiations. Everything is unsettled right now. This has been an ongoing negotiation, probably as you've seen in the news for several years now. There's simply just issues on the legal side in terms of how certain states actually manage some of these requested shortages and how that water be allocated. So really 2 aspects the city working through right now is one is to make the best value of the resource we have. We've been suffering shortages on the San Juan Chama project for many years now. It's one of the things that we're exploring, and we'll be happy to come back to the committee if so desired, is we're working through a water reuse project that will take our San Juan Chama water that's not consumed. So it's water that arrives from our sewer shed to the Sale Real Water Reclamation Facility, and will allow us to bring that back essentially to the Buckner Direct Conversion closed loop system for a one-to-one exchange for recycling. The other piece that we're working on and paying very close attention, working with the state of New Mexico and the governor's office, is through the San Juan Chama Contractors Association. Every entity in New Mexico that has a contract with the San Juan Chama project, Albuquerque Water Authority, Middle Rio Grande Servicing District, Hickory, Apache Nation, we all work together to help form solutions as well as help the state understand where effectively some of these institutional pinch points.
Thank you.
As expected.
Any other questions? So you kind of touched on this, Director, for me because of, well, I imagine the public's concern with just how dry it's been and the, messaging of where we're at, which is in a good place still. But When we think of when we have to provide messaging out to the public in regards to conservation, it comes after budget. Do you see it being necessary that we are mindful of budgeting, communication, and education, and possibly like even physical resources to promote conservation through these summer months?
Madam Chair, yeah, and I think this may reflect back a little bit to the water resources indicator. So we're going through the budget cycle now, and conservation has a certain budget. And because we know at this point what the water resources indicator is for this year, we can target that budget respectively. So if we were dipping down into a lower level and we wanted to allocate more resources for communication, we would know that now,
Okay.
and then they would have that budget now. They would still be using up remaining budget from the current fiscal year to obviously to get us through June. But the idea is to try and be enough ahead that we can allocate some additional resources when we need it in the budget cycle.
Great, thank you so much. All right, no other questions? Okay, I was gonna say, can I have a motion? Thank you, Director Roach, for the presentation. Appreciate it. Now we will go on to the consent agenda, or what was pulled off, which was 7E, request for approval of capital outlay grant agreement with the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration for the completion of the replacement of Cerro Gordo Bridge, Project 25-J5981, and the total amount of $300,000 with a reversion date of April 11, 2027. We have Marcos Esquivel here. This does come with a bar to allocate $300,000 from the 2025 capital appropriation to FY 26 revenue with WIP construction for the completion of the replacement of Cerro Gordo Bridge. And this was pulled off by Councilor Fagali, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Councilor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Esquivel, thank you for coming. I just had some questions about the project and want to make sure that I understand what's going on, since I have a lot of constituents who talk to me about Cerro Gordo Road a lot. So my understanding, this is the bridge at Upper Canyon, is that correct? Okay, and from what it looks like from this contract, and I would love just, general background, it looks like this will be done in the next year, is that correct?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Councilor Golly. Yes, ma'am, that is the plan. A brief background, what you're requesting is in 2022, the city obtained the services of AECOM Technical Services, and the original project at that time was for the rehabilitation of Cerro Gordo Bridge. During that process, city requested that AECOM take some coring samples of the deck of the bridge to ensure that the bridge was substantial enough to just do the rehab. During those corings, they determined that the concrete wasn't in good enough condition for them to do just the rehab. So the city at that time determined that a complete superstructure replacement would be the best process to do. So AECOM is going to be utilized at this point to do the engineering, design, construction oversight for the project. Project is hopefully going to be started this year. We're anticipating to be able to start this year. We'll just see how quick is the engineering. It is my understanding that just based on their initial assessment that they're already at about 30% design, because they were already anticipating designing the rehab. So that is a little bit of an advantage for us to be able to kind of be ahead of the game, reaching complete design and then starting construction.
Thank you. You said redoing the superstructure, so it's not taking out the whole bridge and replacing it?
Oh, ma'am, it'll essentially.
Okay, and I'm assuming there will be some closures happening.
Yes, we will coordinate that, and we are going to do an early neighborhood notification at 6% design. That'll be part of the discussion because, as you know, in that area, you either have to go through Cerro Gordo or you have to go through Upper Canyon, one of the two. So, yes, the road closure will have a significant impact in the area. And I think when we do the neighborhood notification, that'll probably be the biggest question or the biggest issue we need to address with the public at that point, because the structure replacement itself is replacing in scope.
Okay, and then just final question. So the reversion date of April 11th, 2027, we're anticipating that will be plenty of time.
Hopefully, yes. We're always anticipating that it's plenty of time.
Right, yeah. And is this the whole amount? Is it $300,000 or this is just the end amount?
The entire amount was estimated at about 1.15 million for design, construction, the whole project.
Thank you. 1.15, is that what you said? That's it for me. Thank you.
And because we are contracting out for this, that's why that we never know when delays can occur. So we're always just wishful and hopeful in the fact that our timelines that we communicate to the public are the timelines that we're able to keep. But because we do depend on a lot of outside entities, it can interfere with that timeline. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All
Madam
right.
Chair.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. Are there any other, well, don't go yet, actually. I didn't ask. Are there any other questions? No other questions. Okay, thank you so much, Marcus, for being here. And do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Chair Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Fagali.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Director. And we turn it over to you, Director.
Matters from, no matters from staff.
No matters from staff. Are there matters from the committee? No matters from the committee. All right, with that, matters from chair, our next meeting is Monday, March 2nd, 2026. With that, we're adjourned. Have a safe evening.
Hey, Bill. Hey, Bill.